So we're talking about ancient history today, aren't we?
Yes, so folks at home, not everything we're going to say can be 100% confirmed, because obviously we're using sources from many centuries ago. Just enjoy the story and take everything we're about to say with a grain of salt, and you should be fine. During the time of the ancient Olympiads, one man above all others was treated by the utmost reverence and respect by other wrestlers of the era, Milo of Croton. A man of immense size and prodigious strength, Milo of Croton basically spent his entire career whooping ass and taking names. Save for that time, he tried to apply a wrestling hold to a tree and got eaten by wolves.
So when did the legend of Milo of Croton begin?
It begins around 6th century BC, which then most historical sources agree he was born.
And where did he get this legendary strength he was supposed to have had?
According to one version of events, from basically the time he could walk, Milo of Croton took to carrying around a small baby calf.
But that's not that heavy.
It isn't, is it? But would it be heavier the next day? And then the next day? And then the day after that? And according to legend, Milo of Croton carried around this baby calf every single day until it was a fully grown and presumably all kinds of confused bull.
I suppose it's quite a clever idea in a way, allowing this thing to grow as you grow with it.
Yeah, because the idea is obviously you don't notice the weight of the calf, increase as it matures into a large bull. And it reminds me a lot of stories and legends about how ninjas used to train. And the thing was you plant a grain of bamboo or some shit like that, and you jump over the shoot every day 100 times. And obviously by the time the bamboo grows to be 6 foot tall, you should be able to jump 6 foot in the air. I'm not sure it works like that, but that's what the legends say.
Yeah.
I know it's probably not going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but it reminds me a lot of this book called Holes.
Is that the one that got made into a film with Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, and in that story, there is another story set back in time about this guy who goes to a fortune teller and says how do I attract the girl of my dreams? He says, well, carry this little baby pig up a mountain every day and feed it water from a stream. And he goes, what will that do? She said, just trust me, just do it. And in this story, he does it every single day. And by the time, it's time for this pig competition that he wants to win, this pig weighs 50 fucking stone, and he's carrying a 50-stone pig up a mountain every single day. And it's the idea is he gets super buff carrying this pig. I don't think that bit made it into the movie, but I love the idea that in this story, this guy carries this giant-ass pig up a mountain. The thing is though, Brad, I think we can make some money out of that, because people today will believe anything if you tell them it'll get you buff. Look at all the shit they put. You can buy protein Mars bars. Oh yeah, I can't wait to eat a protein-filled Mars bar. And all those people eat oh yeah, I'm going on the caveman diet, because cavemen are such healthy diets. That's why they all lived to age 30 and died. Bring in the pig exercise routine. Some shit like that. Just carry this pig up a mountain. Remember a couple of years ago they used to sell teacup pigs?
Yeah.
If people don't know, teacup pigs aren't real. There's no such thing as a teacup pig. People who bought them didn't know that and ended up with these giant-ass pigs in their house.
Was a teacup pig just a baby pig?
It's just a piglet, yeah. And they said, they only grow up to be this big. And they don't.
No, they f***ing don't.
And the best is Paris Hilton bought one, and now she's got a giant-ass pig. We need to just do that, yeah. Carry around this pig all day, and then you'll be super buff by the end of the year.
There's a t-shirt design for someone. Carl's pig exercise routine.
No,
it's a pig giving a thumbs up in the middle.
How can a pig give a thumbs up?
Anthropomorphic pig.
Well, that pig from Family Guy, that one that takes all the steroids.
Oink. Are those fists? Damn right, show 'em, pig.
Getting back to Milo of Croton, the wrestler eventually got so good at lifting bulls clean off their feet that at one wrestling event that he absolutely dominated, he took a bull that had been slaughtered and earmarked for the gods for himself. And do you know why? To eat it. Because apparently Zeus could go f*** himself if Milo of Croton needs to get his protein that day. I don't know roughly how much a bull weighs, but just do some Googling around, Brad. Just put a little thing down there about how much an average bull weighs. That's what Milo of Croton was lifting, according to legend. And he took it and he ate the entire thing reportedly in one sitting.
Jesus.
That's like The Rock's cheat day. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen that.
Oh man, it's ridiculous. It's like Rock's legendary cheat. I thought he can't be as legendary as oh my god.
So a man who can hoist a bull onto his shoulder.
Yes.
What did he look like?
Well, we don't know exactly what it looked like. There are statues, and I'm presuming there's a picture of an artistic representation of what it looked like behind me right now as I'm talking. But according to most sources, he was around 7 foot tall in an era when most men were Tom Cruise sized. And as you can imagine, in an era when wrestling events didn't have weight classes, Milo of Croton utterly dominated every event he ever entered. And I think he won 6 Olympic crowns in his career and was defeated only once during his entire wrestling career.
So I'm assuming the guy who beat him was like somebody who was 8 foot and used to carry around an elephant.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no, according to most historical records, the only time Milo of Croton was ever defeated in a wrestling match, he was beaten by a guy who spent the entire match running away. Now this guy just basically sprinted in a circle around Milo of Croton until he collapsed from exhaustion. Milo collapsed from exhaustion, this guy just kept running away. And it's like that scene in, what is it now, Life of Brian, isn't it? The gladiator who runs around in a circle, and the other gladiator chases him and then collapses, and the guy wins by default.
I think I'm about to have a cardiac arrest.
So that was his only recorded loss, and Milo of Croton, like, you know, he took it in his stride and decided at that point, okay, I'll just retire after only losing once. We've talked about it before, haven't we? We both love the idea of people just like interpreting rules in such a way where it allows them to just cheese a victory. Like, if people don't know, like, the shot clock in basketball was introduced after a team who were playing a much better team than them realised there was nothing in the rules about just holding onto the ball.
It happens a lot now in video games.
Oh man, HLG in Halo 3.
What was HLG?
Hiding League Gaming. Because in Halo 3, obviously, it's a time limit. But if you get like 1 or 2 kills and just hide and wait for the entire 10 minutes to be up, you still win. So me and my mates used to do that, and we found all the little hidey holes in Halo 3. You get one snipe, you get that snipe right at the start, snipe 2 of the enemy people and just hide. Or on Narrows, there was a glitch that's still not fixed, you can still do this in Halo 3. If you run into your teammate and then jump off the edge of the level, that counts as a betrayal. So you can do that, get your teammate to betray you 3 times, then boot them, and then just play on your own against the entire enemy team. And we used to do that if people like, there's 3 of us and we don't want this other guy, quit making betrayals. Ever keen to show off how strong he was, Milo of Croton was reportedly very fond of challenging strongmen and other athletes to step to his buffness.
Do you have any examples of this?
Well, one of my favourites, and the one that I think highlights how strong Milo of Croton was, if it's accurate, is that he would stand with his hand outstretched with his fingers like that. I'm not sure I'm on camera, there we go, like that. And he'd challenge anyone present to bend one of his fingers against his will. And like, historians have noted that nobody who ever took him up on this challenge managed so much as to bend his little finger against his will.
It's when I hear the stories like that, I always think, really?
Yeah, it's probably hyperbole, and maybe someone somewhere did manage to bend one of his fingers, just that historian didn't see it. Like, history isn't like the most accurate witness we have to these events, but it's the only one we have. So we have to, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But like, yeah, Milo of Croton was really fond of challenges like this. Another one that he used to do was stand on a greased plate and ask people to push him off it, and they couldn't do it because obviously he weighed so much, and his centre of gravity he had like supreme control over his centre of gravity, and that's one of the ways he trained to stop people to throw him. Like, he'd stand on like a wheelie wobbly plate and just like balance himself and challenge people to push him off. Yeah. As you can probably imagine, hearing anecdotes like that, Milo of Croton was very confident in his strength, which unfortunately led to his death at the hands and jaws of a bunch of angry wolves.
So how did this happen?
Well, the story goes that Milo of Croton was walking through a forest and he happened upon a tree stump with a cleft put in it. You know, never been one to, like, you know, miss an opportunity to work out. Milo of Croton thrust his hands into this cleft and tried to rip it apart. And in his head, he probably thought something like this was going to happen. Instead, though, Milo found that his fingers had become trapped. And at this point, history notes that dozens of wolves ran out of the forest to start nibbling on his dick hole and just, like, you know, ate him to death.
You plonker! You've spent too much time working on these muscles and not enough time working on this muscle.
Like, obviously, though, Milo of Croton wasn't some punk-ass bitch, so he did, according to history, fight off a few of the wolves using his like massive man thighs and pinpoint accurate wolf-seeking drop kicks. And like, every picture of this is amazing because it just shows a completely naked, for some reason, Milo of Croton with his hands stuck in a tree stump, like strangling wolves with his thighs as other wolves in the background get hype. It's like, and the story goes, obviously, like, a couple hours later, obviously, Milo of Croton succumbed to his wolf wounds and was found just surrounded by dead wolves with his hands still caught in the tree.
I mean, what a way to go.
Well, I know, and I'm going to guess, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, people back then weren't obviously as afraid of death as they are today because, like, immortality could be achieved by being remembered by, you know, future generations, which evidently worked because 2,500 years later, we're talking about how much of a badass this guy was and the fact that his death should be an album cover. So we briefly touched upon Hercules and ancient Greek mythology in this video, so let's talk more about that for a bit, because ancient Greek mythology is awesome. And I'm consistently disappointed that Hollywood has never decided to, like, you know, plumb the depths of it to make any more movies.
Well, I mean, when they do plumb the depths, they bastardise it to shit.
They do, and they always do, like, the stories everyone knows, like the Labours of Hercules or Perseus and all that bollocks. But I want to see some, like, the really obscure shit. I want to see the stuff they cover in, like, God of War, like, 3, when they start to run out of gods to kill. Because, it's like, I think in, like, the PSP games, like, Kratos casually beats, like, Thanatos, the god of death. Like, if you've beaten the god of death, what the f***? How are you supposed to beat anyone beyond that? It's like, how is there a god who challenges you after you beat up the metaphysical concept of death itself? That shit's awesome.
Well, I always like the stories that come out of Norse mythology.
Oh, Norse mythology is good.
Just like one of the more fascinating things I like about Norse mythology is the story of Ragnarok. It starts when Balder gets stabbed, I think, by a mistletoe.
Mistletoe, yeah,
branch.
because it's the one plant that his mother couldn't convince not to hurt him, because mistletoe is the betrayer of the plant world.
And then 3 crows have to call out in 3 different realms.
Yeah.
It's like there's
It's
just
so
these
ridiculous.
weird little like line of things that are meant to happen.
And the Fimbul winter was like 2 years. It was like the worst like winter ever. Some shit. My favourite thing about Norse mythology though is, like, do you know what an eclipse is in Norse mythology? Basically, they say there is constantly a pair of wolves chasing the sun and the moon. And like these wolves take it in turns. Like when the sun's out, the one wolf chases the sun across the sky. And when the moon comes out, the other wolf starts chasing it. And the idea of an eclipse is that the wolves finally catch the sun and or moon and start nibbling on it. And do you know what, like, Vikings used to do back in the day? They'd stop what they were doing and scream at the sky to scare the wolves away. And obviously it's like confirmation bias because when they screamed it stopped, they thought that's the only way to stop the apocalypse. So they were scaring away the giant sky wolves trying to eat the moon.
Egyptian stuff like that was a similar thing. I think Ra used to drive a chariot with the sun in it.
He drives a chariot with the sun behind it through the sky, and every night he has to fight through the underworld. And I think there's a giant cat monster that protects him from the snake that tries to devour the sun. Or some it's amazing. It's the one thing I think Exodus Gods of Egypt got right. Yeah. Where they actually show that every single night, Ra has to fight the entirety of the underworld to protect the sun.
I loved the path through the underworld for Pharaoh. With the idea of the weighing the feather,
the weighing of the soul against a feather, yeah.
With Anubis. I always thought that was fascinating.
Well, Anubis is always awesome. That's why I love like the Mummy movies, where they bring up the army of Anubis, because that's got one of my favourite lines in any movie ever. And it's where like I forget what's the name of like the army that guy runs.
The Magi?
That's it, the Magi, where they all fight the army of Anubis, and then the army of Anubis comes back from the sand, and the guy just looks at them and goes, "Till death!" But just that image of the guy, like, we're getting charged by an endless army of sand dog monsters, like, you know, like given the power of the god of death himself. What should we say? It's like, "Till death!" and just charges that with his sword. I love shit like battle movies.
Hello patrons! For this month's readout, we're going to keep it quite simple, and we're going to do a simple reading of names with nothing interesting happening at all. So, here is the list of our VIPs. Andy Ruffle, Nix, Coffee Soap, The Fez Wearer, Sloane Rockefeller, Michelle Holloman, Susan from South Africa, Jacob Ursenbach, G, Rael E. Walters, Bubba P, Umbrella or Tano. I'm really sorry if I pronounced any of these wrong. Did I hear a noise? Joshua Knapp, Duke Schnuglis, Darth Turkey 28, Impy, Grimbacker, Hannon DOA Argove, My Shoes Hurt 69, Andy Ellis, and the one name I can't say, Thani Saeed Aromathi, we'll get it right one of these days, Kim Geishler, Ian Lurs, Lyndon B. Johnson, Tyler Mason, Taylor Brandwood, Amy Brundridge, Matt Gilbert, Nestor Ailman, Anixia, Rotoscope, Anna Goo, Aaron Clausen, Mr. Bad Boy Patch, Ziran King, Sean Watson, Kynan Plays Games, Benjamin Fridman, Job 366, Job 366, Ryan Ryder, RR7567, Seripol, Aero QC, Popsicle Tart, Samuel Chesser, Eric Toledo, Fiorelli, such a wig smell. Brina Lawless, Lousy Shisha, Jet Road, Shay Pinder, Chibisa Mataware, CD Bad, Litigation Santa Claus, Randy Reese, Caloran, Sam Bartram, Cal Tessa, the Red Oak Shield Virus, Dandeli, Patrick Bratson, Binger, and last but certainly not least, Jordan Dubu. Jordan Dubu. Yes, so that's all our VIPs read out in a calm, casual, nothing interesting happening manner. Thank you to everyone who does continue to support us. We couldn't be doing this weird shit without you. Say bye, Brad. Ah!